My name is Russell Redden. I'm from Mr. Shelf, Mount Maunganui. We have a factory here which we make a range of storage units, bookcases. We supply to a number of wholesalers around the country, and we also manufacture kitchens for the retail market. We have 3 retail outlets, one in Bay of Plenty, one in Hamilton, Waikato, and one in Auckland. We have 25 staff across all the operations and have had MPower in our factory for now over 5 years. What's MPower done for us as far as our business is concerned? It's allowed us to actually understand our workload in our various areas of the factory, whether it be machining or assembly. Have a look at our workloads, make sure that we're planning our workloads so that everything's completed by the due by date. And obviously in kitchens we are manufacturing to an installation date, so it allows us to plan backwards from the installation date, and we have never missed an install date since we've put MPower in. It also helps us understand our forward orders, which is really important, trying to understand what we've got in front of us, so that we know that we've got a certain amount of workload coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks. But obviously the most important part for us was productivity increase. It allowed us to track our staff's output. Understanding the output created a little bit of pressure, internal pressure on the staff themselves. Initially, probably the effect of this was somewhere between 8 and 10% increase in productivity. We believe now, after we've had it over a 5-year period, we're probably churning out about 15% productivity over and above what we were doing previously, from the staff members, purely by themselves putting themselves under pressure on the time limits that they see on the screen when they log on to a particular job, and trying to match those times the best that they can. With the installation of MPower into our factory, there was a little bit of initial negativity from the staff because they didn't really understand the system, and to some degree thought it might have been Big Brother, but quickly overcome that once they understood the system, and really it was a system based on just logging on and off jobs so that we could understand our factory workload flowing through the factory, and really within 6 months of bedding it in, the staff were fully on board, and they really just treated it as just another process that they did in the factory. As far as the interruption to productivity, really it was seamless. It really didn't have any interruption. We installed the program, installed the machines in the factory, and then once everything was up and running, we had a staff meeting and explained how to work it, and the next day we switched on. So really it was pretty seamless as far as the installation was concerned.
As a component of that, Russell, our training to you, was it difficult?
No, it was, as I say, it was fairly seamless, and really the only negativity was from staff who have been in a joinery factory for many years and thought that was the way to do things. But the staff that adapted the system quickly, they found it so simple to operate, and now we have everybody in the factory on it, and we haven't had a person finding it a real issue to deal with the program at all in the whole time we've had it in 5 years. And we've brought new staff in and what have you over that period, and just explain the system to them the day they walk in the door. Our production manager walks them through it, and from there on in they operate it. It's fairly simple.
Yeah, beauty.
Support's obviously a real critical part when you're putting any software into anything. As all of us know, things don't always go to plan, but I've got to say that the system's run very smoothly the whole time we've had it, and whenever we've wanted to add a particular report to our system or change something, all we've done is run head office, MPower, Dave, and talked them through the process. He's logged on, he's developed the reports, he's changed a few things around to our requirements, and basically it's up and running again that day. So really the support, it's always been there. We've really never had major issues. I'm heading off to MPower here office in Auckland tomorrow as part of my trip to Auckland to have a look at their current updates. It's always good to just understand what more things can be added to the program, and obviously the more you can benefit from the various different additions to the program, the more benefit you're going to get from the product in the entire business. And part of the process we're looking at tomorrow is going to be stretching that through to installations, not just manufacturing.
So you're talking about, I think the two things you're looking at there, are you, Russell, the cell phone texting of all your delivery and site guys?
Yes.
And also, secondly, the bolt-on capacity planning and job scheduling software.
Yes, yeah, and I think that they're both programs that we're really keen to get involved with, because our productivity's increased so much. We're pouring more kitchens out. We obviously increased our installation load, so we've got to schedule everything fairly tightly now, and we can't afford to be a day behind, because it just causes major headaches. So we've got to have everything flowing basically on the day that it's due to go in install, that it gets installed that day, gets delivered first thing in the morning, and we're out of there because the next day we're on to another job.
Yeah, great. Payback, you're happy that you've got a pretty good payback on the system?
Yeah, well, I have a feeling, and it's only a gut feeling because our actual workload's increased over the time, but we've dropped workers through the program, so the payback's pretty quick when you look at the amount of money you're going to save by not employing an additional staff member. We're probably 2.5 to 3 staff members down and putting out more product than we ever have.
So in financial terms, 3 staff at 40k each roughly, or whatever, 35k, is 100 grand a year?
$120,000 a year plus probably, because your $120,000 only really covering their salary, not covering all the incidental holidays and all sorts of other things that comes from employing a staff member. So yeah, the savings, I would.
That's $500,000. That's $500,000 over 5 years, and you paid 11 grand for the software.
Yep. So the maths quickly add up.
Right. Yeah, they are good numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I think we pay a monthly support fee, but I continue to be happy to pay that on the basis that we're actually forever changing and evolving the system. So, if you want the system to continue to work, if you don't change anything, it's always going to be what it was way back then, and you're never going to continue to improve. So,
right,
that's the way we look at it.
Yep, and you'll get to see, as you said, part of your visit tomorrow is go and see all the development we've done, and have that explained to you, what was developed for, what's the benefit of, and you can assess how you're going to apply that functionality and those reports to your business.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about it too, with Empower Support, is that if we've got a particular report we want for our business that nobody else has, for whatever reason, we can sit down with Dave and explain what we want to try and achieve, and he'll create the report that feeds us the information from the system that we've already got.
Absolutely.
And so, I always look at the add-ons, but sometimes we sit in a meeting and we say, would it be great to have this information? We'll go, well, we should be able to get that out of Empower. Let's go back to Dave and talk to him about it, and he'll figure it out and write the report, and then we whack that into our favourite report module, and it's there.
Brilliant.
We run all our wages out of Empower now. We used to have a time clock. We don't have the time clock anymore. If a guy clocks out at 4:38, he clocks out at 4:38. If he clocks in at 7:22, he clocks in at 7:22. And we have a system in our factory now. We tell the guys, you don't clock onto a job till you start the job. So you get all your prep done, and then you clock in, and you're ready to work. Because if you're clocking onto the job too early and you're getting your tools set up and all those sorts of things, then you're going to overrun the job, and I'm going to ask the questions as why that job's overrun. Basically, you mucked around too much in the morning, so they understand that. Awesome. So they get themselves prepared now. They work, and they clock onto a job, and they start work, and the minute they finish the job, they clock off the job and they clock out. I wouldn't be running this business 5 years later if it wasn't for Empower. I'd have me here getting pulled out, trying to understand why I wasn't getting the productivity of the factory, and I'd be probably spending every day in the factory trying to chase up jobs. I don't do that anymore. I feel comfortable when I go on a trip overseas. I actually get Empower reports sent to me on my email every other day to make sure the factory's still pumping out what it should be pumping out when I'm physically not even there.
Right, so with your 3 retail outlets, 100 and 200 miles away, you can confidently go up there and build your business and sell, and leave the factory to be productive by itself.
Yeah, without a question. And one of the things about once we started building retail outlets remotely, is you've got to deliver. We do 1 day delivery every week to a particular town. So we've got to have those kitchens on that truck, loaded and gone that week, or we're a whole week behind in a foreign town. And that causes all sorts of headaches and all sorts of problems, and we can't afford that. So that's one of the things, when we built the business, it's a critical part of the business that the kitchen's out of the factory the day it's meant to be out of the factory, it's loaded on the truck and it's gone that day.
And NPR helps the boys use it as a tool to push that along.
Yeah, absolutely.
But summary financial terms, 5 years in, saved $500,000 and it cost $11,000.
Yep.
Got to be happy.
That's about it.
Okay, simple terms.
Yeah, it's simple numbers. If anybody has any questions, more than happy to take a phone call. I'll give you my New Zealand contacts. Call me in New Zealand, in Tauranga. It's 0757486686, with obviously the New Zealand prefix before that. But I'm happy to take questions. If somebody is thinking about the program and wants to ask somebody who's using it for 5 years and what they think of it, and any other questions that weren't covered by the video, just give me a call.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Russell.